And the spirits of young men on the verge of adult life. We beseech you to continue to bless them and inspire them, that what they have begun here may bear rich fruit in the years to come. All which we ask of the same Spirit who with you in Jesus Christ, our Lord and Savior, lives and reigns forever and ever. Amen.
I'd like to welcome you this morning to our commencement exercises for the class of 1986. nice to be here in a room full of heroes. I don't think that's hyperbole to say. My heroes are people who take risks, who are better at what they do far than the average, people who are willing to really try and work hard, people who achieve, people who are eventually very successful. And I think for you parents, certainly it's not too short to say you took a risk when you had these guys. I think parenting is always somewhat of a risk. And certainly you've done an excellent job with your charge. And that's certainly true of these boys as well. They've taken a lot of risks here, and they've achieved beyond the average. They're graduating from here very competent young men. But it's essentially and extremely true that the faculty are a group of heroes. They all have high frustration tolerance levels. They all take risks every day that they enter the classroom, and they all achieve well above the average. And I believe that their product sits before you. It's good to have you here today. Let's all enjoy ourselves. I know that the boys will. I'd like to proceed with the awarding of the various honors. And I'd like to begin with the art award and ask Mrs. Ivory, our art teacher, to present that award.
I'm going to ask Mr. Ruiz and you to allow me to present the art awards in a little bit unusual way. It gives me a great deal of pleasure to present these awards on behalf of the faculty and staff of Blue Ridge School. I say awards because I found in evaluating that 2 boys were in the running to receive these awards, and I usually like to do something special for the art award, at least special to me. And so I decided that since I'm posing as some kind of sculptor in welded metal, it would be neat if I could do a sculpture for the person who would receive the art award, so that when I found that there would be 2 people receiving it, I was in double trouble. Both of these boys maintained A averages the whole year. Both of them worked overtime a lot of times. They expressed an interest in the arts in their own way. Both won blue ribbons during the recent art show in the student category. So I was not able to choose one over the other. In doing these sculptures, I did them as much alike as I could, trying to give each one the same value that the other one had, because these are not a first and second prize. These are 2 first prizes. The boys were helpful to me as well as hanging in there and doing their art projects the whole year. One of them got bugged with all the junk that I had collected over the years in the art department, so he declared war and threw out a lot of things that I had there, things that I cherished. And so I felt a bit bugged by the fact that these things were getting thrown away. And he felt bugged because they were being kept. And then lo and behold, another student declared war on another part of the art department and did the same thing. And since they were bugged and I was bugged, I decided that I would make these sculptures bugs. So I stand with 2 ladybugs to bug for a last time Robert Morton Boyd III and Thomas Edward Powell IV.
For the Drama Award, Mr. Matthews will present the Drama Award.
Perhaps more than at any other time, the one-act plays show that in theater, our students are truly gifted. The love put into the one-acts is born of the setbacks that many of these students have experienced in their own lives, a love which allows them to express themselves so authentically in performances like Down Came the Rain. At this time, I would like to recognize the outstanding contribution to the drama program of 3 students who have created other such moments: Willie McLean, Bill Hines, and Tom Powell. Finally, the Drama Award goes to another special person who has given greatly of himself and in so doing touched the hearts of us all with his talent, with his humor, but most of all with his caring for others. It is with pride that I present the Drama Award to Brooks Brazelman.
The English Award will be given by the chairman of the English department, Mrs. Olton.
All right, the teacher who nominated the person who has won the award for excellence in English said of him that he was the best student that he's had in his 3 years of teaching at Blue Ridge School. The student has even entertained the idea of majoring in English in college. I've heard that he's fleet of foot as well as alert in mind. I hope that he's also strong in arm, the better to carry his prize with him wherever he may roam hereafter. It is a great pleasure that the English department gives its highest honor to Trey Higgins.
Mr. France will present the French Award.
I'm going to give 2 awards this year because during the entire year these 2 students have had exactly the same grades, worked very hard on a daily basis in everything that we have studied. So for their high level of proficiency and fluency attained during their study of the French language, I'd like to give the French awards to François Duhaut and Vidi McLean.
The Government and History Awards will be presented by Mr. Young.
I'm pleased to announce that yesterday Charles Duncan Shearer received the award for excellence in the study of United States and Virginia government and early American history. And as you may know, the seniors undertake the study of modern American history, and it is my pleasure to recognize 2 of those young men whose achievement was outstanding for excellence in the study of American history. Will Edward Dahl Dieters and Todd Edward McFarland come forward? Mr. Niederberger, who is chairman of the History Department, has a special award to make.
The Albemarle chapter of the Daughters of the American Revolution sponsor a special award recognizing excellence in the study of American history, and I am very pleased to present this award to Edgar Turley Higgins III.
I'd like Mr. Dean to present the Math Prize.
It's an honor and a privilege to recognize Frank Schuler for excellence in the study of mathematics this year.
I'd like Mr. Young to present the award for the publications.
On behalf of myself and the school community, I'd like to offer a special thanks to two seniors who have for the past 2 years contributed to the production of the school's yearbook. The first one has served as editor-in-chief this year, and the second served as photography editor. I'd like to present these awards to Robert Jager and Steve Gregory.
I'd like Mr. Nelligan to present the Science Award.
As a first-year teacher, this award means a great deal to me. It goes to a fine young man and also a fine student. The award for excellence in science goes to the student who performed extremely well all year. His daily preparation, test scores, and attitude were nothing short of excellence. He's a joy to teach, and as I said before, a fine young man. I am pleased to give the award for excellence in science to Edgar Turley Trey Higgins III.
I'd like Mr. Kettlewell to present the Dudley Booger Chapel Service Awards.
This award is given in memory of Dudley A. Booker, who for many years was chairman of the board of Blue Ridge School. It's presented to the student this year to two students whose services have been invaluable to me in supporting the organizing and conduct of services. This year the two awards will go to Brooks Emery Brazelman and Habib Hassan Khan.
I'd like to ask Mr. Tennant to present the Alumni Award.
The Alumni Award goes to that senior chosen by his classmates to represent them in the Alumni Association as class agent. And as you can see today, it's kind of a tough election, a lot of good people. But I do think that you all have chosen a great communicator, and I do think that you're going to be an excellent alumni class. And on behalf of the President of the Alumni Association and the entire alumni, welcome, Alumni 1986. This year's award goes to Robert Burke Early.
I'd like Mr. Davis to present the Athletic Awards.
The athletic department presents 4 major awards. These awards are decided on by a vote of the coaching staff. The awards are for enthusiasm, hard work and dedication, sportsmanship, and also to the boy who has contributed the most to the athletic program. The first is the Billy Pace Award. This is presented to the senior who has displayed the greatest amount of enthusiasm for the athletic program at Blue Ridge. This is presented to Robert Morton Boyd III. The Sportsmanship Award goes to the senior who has displayed exemplary sportsmanship during his years as a student and athlete at Blue Ridge. This goes to Brian Randolph Wood. The Frank Pendleton Award goes to the senior who has excelled in athletics due to his hard work and dedication. This goes to Edgar Turley Higgins III. Our top athletic award is called the Stimp Hawkins Award. This goes to the senior who has contributed most to the Blue Ridge athletic program. This goes to George Paul Barron, Jr.
The Scholarship Award goes to the senior who's maintained the highest class rank during his sixth form year, and that goes on all 6 grading periods. And no surprise, this goes to Edgar Turley Higgins.
Citizenship awards will be presented by Mr. Berry.
We have 2 citizenship awards. The recipients are determined by a combined faculty vote in order to recognize the seniors whose citizenship is outstanding and deserves recognition. I'd like these 2 to come down together, please. The first recipient is Rayhan Salim Chowdhury, and then the recipient of the DAR Citizenship Award is Michael Wilson Crandall. Congratulations.
Headmaster's Award is awarded to a senior who, in the judgment of the faculty, has made an outstanding contribution to the life of the school. And this year, we were blessed with a number of good candidates for that award. And we decided to rest with 2 rather than try to narrow it down to 1. And these 2 boys will be awarded the Headmaster's Award for their contributions: Brian Randolph Wood and Edgar Turley Higgins III. I'd like Mr. Trimmer to award the Roy Petty Award.
The Roy Petty Award goes to the senior who has distinguished himself by unselfish service to the school. It's a great deal of pleasure to present the award this year to Robert Morton Boyd III.
Thomas H. Wilcox Jr. Award is a new award this year, which has been presented to the school and endowed by our chairman of the board, who just finished his term this April. And Tom wanted to leave something behind at the school, since the school is very dear to his heart. As he looked at our awards, he felt that a place that really needed filling in was to present an award each year to the head prefect, the senior who is elected by his peers and by the faculty to run the student body of the school. And quite often it's a thankless job. And it's a job that takes a boy with tremendous talent and energy and strength. And this year, it is my pleasure to present the Thomas H. Wilcox Jr. Award to Robert Pierce Jaeger II. This award carries with it a certificate, which Rob in the future can use in his resume or whatever, a bowl, and the Wilcoxes have provided a plaque to be hung in the lobby of the school building, and we will go back to 1965, beginning with the first head prefect, and put all of the boys' names on here, and then continue to add to it in the future. I'd like Mr. France to award the Clark Worthington Award.
Clark Worthington Award is presented to seniors who had the most wholesome influence on the school community during his years as a student and a leader. Great pleasure. This will go to Christopher William Nappy.
St. George Award is the highest honor that the school can award to one of its graduating seniors. And it goes to a boy who not only has done much for the school, but who, in the judgment of the faculty, has responded the best to the Blue Ridge School philosophy throughout his years here. And it's with great pleasure this year that I present the St. George Award to Robert Pierce Jaeger II. I'd like to introduce to you this morning a fine gentleman and a good guy. I could go down a whole list of credentials, but I will spare you many of them. Dr. Graham is a professor at the University of Virginia. He's been there for 25 years, has served in the Dean of Students office, and fills a lot of gaps at the university, in my opinion, in terms of relating to students. When I've been in his office, you have to fight your way through the books and then through the students to get to him. A very popular professor and one who I feel has a great deal to share with us. And it's with great pleasure that I present to you just a good guy, John Graham.
What your headmaster means is I'm inclined to cuss and I smoke a great deal. The last time I was at a boarding school graduation, one isolated as this, in Concord, New Hampshire, was many years ago at St. Paul's School. And I can assure you, gentlemen, that the barber in Concord, New Hampshire is more skillful than the one in Dyke, Virginia. Now, this talk, gentlemen, is in essence in praise of you. We make an awful lot of jokes about graduation, and some of you had to be helped in tying your tie and so forth because you lead such a rugged life in the hills. And a lot of you would rather be at the beach with a delicious and preferably friendly blonde. But this gathering is important for you. It's much more important than you realize now, because what we are doing, and this is all of us, including your classmates, for you, what we're doing is recognizing that an accomplishment has in fact taken place. The finest aspect, frankly, of a speaker at a graduation is that he knows everyone feels pretty good. For most of you, it's been a rather long haul of 3 or 4 years. You've been working your way through irregular French verbs and unbalanceable equations. One thing you've certainly learned, among many others, is that in an English class, When they ask you something about a desperately intricate poem, you respond, perhaps the river is a symbol, or perhaps the bird is a symbol, or perhaps the snow is a symbol. Anything to fight for time in hopes that somebody in that class is going to answer the question for you. Now, my job here is, in fact, to make sure that all cheerfulness is dispelled. I'm supposed to be solemn and wise, and that means I will grow very serious and present you with all sorts of telling observations on life and wise pieces of advice on how to survive, perhaps be content, perhaps even be happy. In other words, my job is to make you doubly relieved that you're finishing up. I'm supposed to bore you, but hang in at any rate. I teach a wide range of things at the University of Virginia, and I teach speeches by Abraham Lincoln and by Edmund Burke. Lincoln's great speech, as you all know, went for about 2 minutes. Burke regularly spoke for 7 or 8 hours. I'm a greater fan of Lincoln's than of Burke's, so don't check your watches for a while, it won't be long. But to get on with this noble advice, observations, there are 3 ideas I'd like you to hold on to. I don't know which one or ones will be most useful to you or will stick in your memory if you even hear them really. So I'll start with the most direct and believable, if you will. Very simple but acute. Never try to open a bottle of beer with your teeth. I would like to presume that you already know that. That know how desperate. Don't try it. Now that we're finished with that, and the only thing you will probably remember, let's move on. I love teaching. And the reason teaching works at all is that you and I, we come to some sort of an agreement. That we've got a certain body of material that somebody, at least, feels is important enough for both you and I to spend a good bit of time on reading and talking and trying to think, at least, and finally trying to write. There must be a commitment from both sides, or the system breaks down, and you've seen the system break down, I'm sure. If I stop growing as the teacher, or if you stop growing as a student through serious, steady work, we grow rigid, we grow self-satisfied, and we do get dull in the worst sense of the word. We wind up having nothing important to say to each other, and I do mean to each other. I bore you, and believe me, you can bore me when you write that paper in an hour, and I have to spend 2 hours trying to untangle it. If I give lectures on great writers and thinkers off the top of my head, or from notes worked out years ago, or ideas I no longer care about, then I'm breaking my contract with you. I'm also breaking my contract with Mark Twain, Chaucer, Voltaire, Rousseau, William Blake, Tom Paine, Emily Dickinson, Ralph Ellison, and hundreds of others. All the men and the women who have something to say to you and me, who have opened up for our lives important ideas and a mature awareness of humanity. These are the men and the women who have looked at people and society and ideas more steadily and more acutely than any of us ever will be able to. And there's where we need help. We need them if we are to grow and become real human beings. The other side of this commitment is you. If you produce a paper on the Lincoln-Douglas debates while watching, do you get television up here? Did any of you watch the Laker-Houston game? Did they let you stay up that late, or did you sneak up? Well, most of us would have liked to have been Samson, that one split second there. But if you're trying to write a paper while watching a basketball game and hand it in to me, you've certainly broken your agreement to give your best, to concentrate, to stretch your mind, and tell me something I didn't know, because you are certainly now at that stage. You lie to yourself, you cheat to yourself, you steal from yourself, and you bore me as well as disappoint me. And what I'm saying is the most important piece of advice I know, and since so many of you are going directly on to college, the most important advice I can give you for your college and for your life, frankly. And you get so much advice, you get awfully irritated. It's such a yawn. Everybody's trying to run things for you. But the really important thing is that you're in charge. It's your life, and you've got to run it. You've got to make the commitments to school, to the job, to the people, and to particular people. Here at Blue Ridge, obviously, the fact that you are here in this chapel today, you did make a commitment. You did a difficult piece of work, both academically and socially. And you did that difficult work, and this is important. When you were discouraged, you were confused, you were lonely, you were angry, you were feeling cheated, misunderstood, all of these words that all of us have to fight with. You did that when you were discouraged. And this is probably the one thing I really want you to remember from what I say today, is that you will always remember that you did that when there were times when you sure wanted to bail out and walk down that road and hang out a thumb. Now, some way you finished a paper or an examination or a discussion or a ball game respectably. You might not have gotten the A or the B or even the C. You might not have won the game. You might have fouled it up pretty thoroughly even, but you started and finished a tough job. And perhaps that surprised you, and it perhaps surprised a lot of other people too, and that's to your credit. This fact you've got to hang on to, because you're going to have plenty of tough years ahead of you. You started and you finished. The nature of life seems sometimes to be, frankly, one problem after another, and plenty of the problems are so real, maybe heartbreaking, that you want to walk away from them. But today you can recognize that. At one point in your life, and for an extended period of time, you took charge. You met problems, and some way you won when you thought the odds were frighteningly against you. Overwhelming is a pretty heavy word, but there it was at times. Now, just as you've got to take charge of your own life and make your commitments, there's another side of the coin that you've got to recognize, and that is that you had help, and lots of help, much of it unnoticed. You'd be naive to the point of stupidity if you didn't know that. The obvious helpers are up here behind me, these annoying people, these tedious, annoying people called teachers. They set assignments, they made you work, they said, yes, the 10-page paper's due Tuesday. No, you can't have it Wednesday. You lose a grade if it's Wednesday. So they helped you commit. Sometimes you were very unwilling, but they helped. To find out what you had in your mind and to help get some good things into your mind. Your parents, and for what it's worth, I've got 6 children, and I'll tell you, you hate yourself sometimes because you are unable to communicate the love and the concern and the pride, and a lot of your parents are just as dumb as I am and unable to tell you things they really want to tell you, but they were behind you. And it was a hell of a lot more than just writing checks, I can assure you of that. But even the people, and watch this now, even the people here who fried the eggs or cut the lacrosse field or repaired the potholes in the road, in this crazy network of society, they were there supporting you in a kind of secret way. Perhaps the greatest support you had were the men sitting next to you. Your classmates, simply because they were other human beings, often in pain, often just plain sweating it out, disgruntled, unhappy, discouraged, but still sweating it out. And they're here with you today, which is, frankly, it's a day of triumph for you. And hold that, I really mean it. Do not forget it is a day, essentially, of your triumph, because you did it. They can lock you in a room, but they don't need to make you read the book. There's no technique for that. You can sit there, and some of you have done this, surely. Have you ever taken a pencil and just turned it from one end to the other while you were supposed to be writing a paper? It's a great waste of time. I sharpen many pencils when I'm supposed to be working. for instance. You mustn't forget that it is a day essentially of your own triumph. It's a very personal testimony to your character. And look back on that ignorant and, remember, very frightened young kid who came in between those stone pillars out there. And he's gone. Now, you are still ignorant, and you ought to be frightened, a little bit at least, but you're a long ways from that little boy, and you're now a better, a stronger person, capable of making judgments, capable of making commitments that you couldn't have made earlier. You've dealt with life, and you received help. There it is. You did it, and I'm glad you're here right now, and the reason I'm glad you're here and not at the beach is so that we may all praise you.
Are you nervous, guys? Relax. Relax. We'll get there. We keep waiting for this last minute. They think these are going to disappear here. I'd like now to move on to the real business of our day, the awarding of our diplomas. And I'd like to ask Mr. France to help with that, and Mrs. Dent. Mrs. Magruder-Dent is the chairman of our Board of Trustees, and Posey has been a very energetic and competent source of support and strength for me throughout my first 2 years here at Blue Ridge School. It's a great pleasure that we present these diplomas to the members of the class of 1986. Robert Pierce Jaeger, II. William Angus McIntosh McLean. John Powell Frazee III. George Newman Allman III. George Paul Barron, Jr. Bruce Russell Bartley. Robert Morton Boyd III. Brooks Emery Brazelman. Stephen Daniel Carr. Rehan Salim Chaudhry. Milton Lyle Clark II. John Stewart Klein. Michael Wilson Crandall. Michael Stearns Davis. William Robert Davis. Edward Dahl Dieters, Jr. Francis Colt DeWolf III. Robert Burke Early. Michael Howard Ferguson. Carter Venable Fox, Jr. James Sidney Froman. Downing Palmer Gleason. Andrew Newton Graham. Stephen Parkhill Gregory. Peter Michael Gretz. Rizwan Hassan Shikish. Edgar Turley Higgins III. William Michael Hines Jr. Warren Peyton Holden. Habib Hassan Khan. Matthew Lowe Lunsford. Todd Edward McFarland. Willis Payne McKee III. Christopher William Nappy. William Howard Nelson Jr. Alan Royal Page. Thomas Edward Powell IV. Ian Clark Priestland. David Brent Rue. Frank August Schuller IV. Frank Grover Selby IV. Richard Lawrence Simmons Jr. James Stanley Smith. Thomas C. Williams Smith III. Edward Barton Thomas. Andrew Bradford Hastings Walker. John David Wheeler. Richard Bryce Wilson. Charles Glenn Warner. Brian Randolph Wood. Walter Lee Wright IV. This senior class has been a very good and special one. These guys have worked hard, at least through the 2 years that I've been able to witness with them. It's been my great pleasure to spend the last 2 years of my life with your sons, and I want to thank you for that pleasure. Congratulations.
Stand for that.
Martha.
Martha!
That's what it does too, Karen.
Boy, it's too big for you, Martha,
Yeah,
huh? She knows
Martha's
she's
gonna smile. She's great.
Hey, you got a picture of me in there.
Shoot.
I had to laugh Jim Froman photos. Now let's have a picture of you with the Davis. No, I'll just get my
Hi, how are you? Good to see you. Yeah. Okay. Good job. Do you have someone graduating? I didn't realize PT was related. I didn't realize that. You got back. It's nice to be back. Having a great day. It's good to see you. Yeah, I remember and all that sort of thing.
Well, that was the alumni award.
Yeah, we all moved. Yeah, well, he'd be a guy. No, I can't think. Class A. They gotta get money.
That's right. Good job. I think it's the first time you've ever been in an alumnus place.